All right, I got guests. And there was a problem with the TV, so I had to go downstairs and help because I'm a good host. But now I'm here, and we can talk about the world's shortest coup. We can talk a little bit about the history of South Korea, the birth of the 4B movement. Yeah. Let's see if I can actually find an article. South Korean military martial law. Apparently, like this is hilarious. So, like, one of the spec ops was found with an anime girl, and immediately people on Twitter are saying that these are the incels rising up. Every new day, I get like a new definition for a word. Now, an incel is a special force operative. Imagine if the anime girl is 17. Goodness gracious, the accusations, right? So this is where we're at. South Korea. This is Johnny Somali work, isn't it? Like, he destabilized the nation. I think that Johnny Somali was God's test on the Korean people. God basically set them a challenge. It's like, are you going to punish this man fairly or not? And if the Koreans would be like, okay, he's getting 5 years in prison. Like, this is what he did. He got like 5 years. But the Koreans were greedy people. And they were like, he's going to get 30 years or life. And then God looked at the humanity's hubris, at the greed and the lack of compassion for their fellow man, and descended South Korea into political chaos. And all of you guys, now you realize that I tried to prevent this. Now you realize I was making videos warning like a prophet. And there were people like, maybe I'm unsubscribing because your take on defending Johnny is just too much. You're responsible. You need to seek repentance. Would I make a good priest chat? Huh? Would I be able to like make a convincing orator? Maybe I should join a cult. Have you guys actually looked at the history of South Korea? Like seriously, did you look at the culture, the politics? Huh? See, a lot of people, especially from Europe, the only thing they know about Koreans is to apologize because we confuse them with the Japanese. Like, you go to a Korean and you're like, konnichiwa, anime, you speak waifu, right? And the Korean is like, no, I'm Korean. And you're like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I generally didn't mean to, you know? That's like usually the interaction that Europeans have with Koreans. I'm not kidding. Like, literally, you see a Korean in the street and you're like, from Japan, Tokyo? No. Pyongyang. I'm so sorry. How did you escape? But anyway, yeah, there is a Korea over there. Bishop hat would look probably. So I looked into the Korean political system, and basically what I found is the thumbnail, right? Like, the thumbnail is not a lie. Hold on, let me put it on the screen because, like, holy shit. All right, so this one was next to others, and usually most of them, like it was placed next to UK, it was placed next to the United States, right? And red means liberal, and blue means progressive, right? So, like, sorry, no, my bad. Red means women, blue means men, downwards is conservative, upwards is liberal, right? So, like this is happening in many places around the world. As you go back in time, men and women were voting similarly. So, like, both men and women were voting conservative, or liberal. But they were kind of, like, close to the center, right? But as you look at Korea, like this is normal with most nations. Like you notice like a little gap. Women become more liberal and men become more conservative. Like what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this, right? And you don't notice it in any other nation. Like the bridge between the two genders is Jesus fucking Christ. No. See, to call what's happening in Korea feminism, it wouldn't be fair because it's not describing it properly. Like I want you to think about what was it, like 2018, like the peak of feminism, right? And I want you to think when you had like all those hashtag rape all men, like all that nonsense, right? And I want you to dial that to 11 and understand that even that doesn't describe what was going on in South Korea. So, thank you for the update, Artemis Fowl. We're going to get into the actual revolution in a bit. What do you think of the Western Indians going LOL? The ended of the martial law within 2 hours by voting 190 to 0, even though the president party 110 members were not there and the military does not recognize the vote. Well, I think like the revolution lives on. Okay, so no, I'll tell you like what will happen with the whole coup. But I'll tell you a story, chat. And you get to vote if it's a conspiracy or if it's true, right? Apparently, when you look at South Korea and you see like the government and politicians and CEOs and business people, it's all a fake. Every little aspect of it is fake because everything is actually controlled by evil women, chat. Evil women practicing witch magic, evil witches that call themselves the 8 fairies. These are the real people behind the South Korean government. These women operate in the shadows, using their spells and using their influences like ancient succubasu. And they're the ones that are actually in charge of the nation. Now, question, is this real or not? Chat, what do you think? I want to hear a couple of answers from you guys. Like, is this something that sounds plausible? Is it something that happened, right? Like, are there like a group of ancient women that are manipulating the people of South Korea to do their bidding? You wouldn't underestimate women? Okay. Apparently, most people didn't have the insight of you, chat. Most people said it's horseshit. Like, come on, it's ridiculous, right? Like, no one can do that. Like, 8 women operating in secret. Like, fuck off. And then they caught one. They caught one, chat. They caught a fairy. I think it was like, ethnically Chinese multi-millionaire lady. She was puppeteering the president. And they found the logs. Evidence so damning, no one could deny. And, Jesus. Yeah, no, what do you think happened after? Well, Gamergate at a national scale happened afterwards. People got entrenched in the ideology. Like initial shock, obviously. But then you had I'm not kidding, like this is what happened. Then you had like groups of people, you had the women and the soy boys on one hand. And you had all the incels and the chads on the right hand. And they stopped speaking to each other. And they started passing legislation to fuck with each other. 7 goddesses cult run by the president, who was the priestess who was the daughter of the president. Why the fuck do you know all this, Artemis Fowl? What do you know all this esoteric shit? I just found out about it. And I'm reading it and it's like, no fucking way. Come on, really? And it's like, no. So why are the men upset, right? Because like powerful people running from the shadows, this is something new to mankind. Why were? Well, apparently like a lot of the shit that they were passing was upsetting men and was targeting men. Like for instance, in South Korea, due to the nature of the state, the proximity of less friendly neighbors, you gotta do military service. It's mandatory. I don't know how long it is. It's like 1 year or 2 years. But like, regardless, you gotta sign up for the military, and only the men have to, right? It's not like Israel, where even women join the ADF. No, like this is the IDF. No. Like here's only men, right? And one of the perks that you got for joining and serving in the military was the fact that it's recognized as time served at work. It's like work experience, right? So like your wage is going to go up because you got work experience, right? Yeah. Well, the women didn't like that. It's not very equal. Not the fact that they don't have to serve in the military, but like the fact that men are getting like this leg up for serving, and they're getting experience, and they're getting pushed for promotions. They didn't like that shit, so they took it away from men. Now, obviously, you know, men are a little bit ass hurt. It's like, okay, so I gotta go to the military, and then when I get reintegrated in the workplace, I have to compete with all my colleagues that had 1 extra year. I mean, no, seriously, like, think about it. Like you're going to university, right? And you're competing with other colleagues, right? Let's say I go to med school, and there's a lot of knowledge that you need to learn in order to pass the exam. And then you go to a hospital, and you gotta pass an interview. Now, imagine this, right? You before you go to the hospital to pass the interview, you're being drafted in the military. Now, it's a traumatizing experience. Right? Like, that's what they do in the military. They break you down. Like, it's part of the actual thing. They break you down as a person, and then they rebuild you. And after that 1 year, chances are you don't know that much about medicine anymore. Like, you forgot a lot of things. You need a little bit of updating. So now you need to spend another year to relearn that same shit. And you gotta go into a hospital and pass an interview. And now you're competing with your colleagues that had, like, 2 extra years before you, and they didn't have to go to the military. Yeah, I think, like, men would be a little bit ass hurt about the situation. Because, like, before, they would get, like, a little bonus. A little, it's like, okay, well... Now, this is one of the things, but, like, they constantly fuck with them. It's the culture, right? Like, if you think, like, fuck all men on Twitter was bad, imagine that at a national level, right? Like, all men are rapists, all that other shit. Imagine that at a national level. They fucked with the video games, chat. They fucked with the video games. So, if you're a man... and you're already being like, oh shit, okay, I can't, I'm finding difficulty getting a job, women hate me just because I'm a man, like, society is cruel to me, you know what, I'll just lock myself up and play video, you can't do that. So from what I've read, apparently, men who watch hentai, right, like, if you get a Japanese manga, like, you're in Asia, they're close by, if you get a Japanese manga, you go to prison, chat. Go to fucking prison. You get a criminal record. Now, based on the age of the characters in the manga, you can be on a registry. Now, you may say, well, I mean, they deserve it. Most of them are teenagers. you got people like, between the age of 18 or 20 with a criminal record. Yeah, for a manga. Going to prison, coming out, now they're on the registry. Come find a job. Yeah, porn is banned in South Korea. It's not like... See, a lot of Americans say, like, oh, we need to ban porn. You don't understand the ramifications. Because if you ban it, like, what do you do with people that avoid the ban, right? Like, there needs to be a punishment. So you got a lot of teenagers, because, like, who watches porn the most? It's not married people, I'll tell you that. It's not married people, Chad. So, and women get a pass, because it's like, well, it's a woman, she watches porn. That's kind of hot. No one's going to report her. So, like, you got all these men, right? Young men, usually age 18, 20, you know, like when their hormones are raging. Oh, now they're in prison. Oh, now they get a criminal record. Oh, now they're on a registry as a sex offender for watching manga. Who's going to hire them? Yeah, I didn't think so. So imagine this culture, right? Imagine this culture. And maybe now you can start to understand a little bit this shit. You can start to understand a little bit this crap. In America, it is married people? That's bizarre. Yeah, married men are big OnlyFans supporters. That is true, you know? Like, you need to have money to simp. Not everyone can simp. You gotta... Isn't that what right-wingers want? Well, it depends in what country. The left kind of wants it as well, but only to, like, heteronormative shit. To be fair, though, America also wanted to ban alcohol. Like there are certain things you just cannot ban. Many societies have tried. And it's not that you can't make the argument on why a vice should be banned, because at the end of the day, this is what porn is. It's a vice. It's a vice, like gambling, like cigarettes, right? Now, many societies have tried to crack down on vices, and this is what usually happens. It's like, okay, you ban it, but what do you do with the ones that break the law? Like, what do you do with the people that still, despite the ban, engage into the activity? And the answer in Korea is like, well, you treat them as sex offenders. Because that's what it is. It's a sex crime, right? Now, you made it a sex crime. There you go. Lotus Eaters wants to ban it. I'm not surprised. I will tell you, if they ban it, they will have to end up with like, okay, well, what do we do with the young people that still watch it? Do you give them a fine? How do you enforce the ban? I mean, the only way to enforce the ban right now is with digital ID. Is that what you want? I mean, if that's the case, there's a lot of authoritarian that will support you. Pornography, Tomcat. Pornography. OnlyFans. Not just porn. And it's also like the question, like, what is the definition of porn? Because I've seen, like, recently the definition being extended to, like, Victoria's Secret catalog. So, like, you have women that are just skimpily clad, they're fully dressed, there's no intercourse going on, and they consider that pornography. And it's like, all right, so, you know, the modeling industry goes to shit, like, a lot of money wasted there, video games, a lot of comic books, in fact, like, almost the entire comic book industry in the United States as well, because, like, you guys have, like, X-Men and superheroes that are skimpily clad. It's like, but whatever, you know, like, most people, they don't really think about the consequences of what they ask, or how to enforce them, or if the enforcement is going to be applied to other stuff for misuse. It's simple. It's like, well, I don't like it, ban it. All right. I mean, they did that with alcohol, and they got the speakeasies, but still. I digress. I didn't even want to go into the pornography. I wanted to talk about South Korea. And I wanted people to understand the type of culture that is there. So, eventually, they elected a right-wing government. Incels rose up, and they decided enough is enough. So they elected this guy, and this guy got rid of the gender studies department. I don't know how they call it. Like there are a couple of clown pill nations in the world that have like one. I think like Britain has like women something. Argentina used to have one. It's basically a waste of taxpayer money. It's like, if you look at the countries that have one, the abuse doesn't go down. In fact, it goes up. But anyway, right, so like South Korea used to have one. So like this new guy gets elected, gets rid of the diversity department, the gender one. Does a lot of like reforms and conservative stuff. So now he decided that he wants to put South Korea under martial law. This hasn't been done since like, I think it's like 70, 80 years. I mean, there was a precedent for it. It's not like the South Koreans don't know about it. But basically what it means is that any type of protest is now illegal. Every single mainstream media is now under the government. Let's see, what else? You're not allowed to strike. You're not allowed to do any activity that hampers the state. They haven't actually got boots on the ground yet, except around the parliament, but things can change. Like, take into account this happened a couple of hours ago. So, oh yeah, 1980. I was close. It's almost like 50 years. I was close. The feminist mechanism must stop. No. Like, it's not due to the feminism. They're saying that the government has been infiltrated by a lot of North Korean detractors. Now, my take is that I would be shocked. I would be utterly surprised and perplexed if North Korea hasn't infiltrated the South Korean government. And this is due to the fact that I know how the Soviet Union operates with active measures. I know how my country operated. Like, we had spies all over the West. It's shocking if this wasn't the case. Most authoritative nations, they do have like spy networks, and they try to influence people. So it would be absolutely shocking if North Korea didn't influence South Korea. Did it come to this level? I don't fucking know. Maybe it did. I mean, if you have like feminist government that are like third wave feminists, which already are like Marxist build, and their neighbors are actual Marxists, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, most of these progressive movements, they actually despise their nation, and they love the international community. They love the outside, like, they view the exotic to be more attractive. So maybe. But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter, right? It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Because in politics, in real politics, what matters is who has the stick. And the stick in this case is the military. So, like, who is the military going to listen to? Now, the next couple of hours are going to be crucial in telling us how things are going to unfold. And if the military doesn't stand down, then the current president, has the de facto power. It's very difficult in 2024 to resist the establishment, because the establishment can cancel your bank accounts. It can read your social media posts. It probably knows where the leaders that you're organizing your movement with are located. And the funny part is, chat, that most of this censorship was placed by the progressives. So congratulations, progressives. You get what you wanted. You got the government controlled, but now someone else is at the government. And I'm saying this with glee, hoping that maybe Western governments can learn something from this shit. Yeah, good luck organizing a significant counter movement when you gave the government the power to monitor and to spy on people and all that shit. Like for instance, I don't know if you guys are aware, but PlayStation and Xbox for a while had to pull away from South Korea because they weren't censoring enough. Anyway. The results of what's going to happen if the military is going to side with the current president is going to be that the international community will have the final say. And we're going to have to see what the US is going to declare, probably tomorrow, because like I'm pretty sure like the US is waiting for the situation to stabilize, right? So usually they will have like a diplomatic message. It's like, oh, we're concerned about what's happening in Korea, or oh, we're monitoring the situation, right? If it's like that, then they're supporting the current president. If the United States, however, is like, we firmly condemn what's happened, blah, blah, blah. If they do that, I don't think the current president is going to hold power for long. Yeah, and then if the US supports the current establishment, then chances are China and North Korea are going to try to make a play. They may try to fund activist groups. They may try to fund revolutionaries. They will basically like pay them. They'll try to pay them. But yeah, don't worry. They will intensive 4B, and the president and the military will stand down just like in ancient Greece. They'll intensify 4B. Yeah. So basically, everything is going to be dictated by America's policy, and then even then, like, America will have a difficult time because this is a country that's far away and it's surrounded by North Korea, and it's not surrounded, but like a little bit closer. Like you got North Korea, then you have China. So it's a lot easier for those countries to run ops in South Korea than it is for America. But I don't know. I don't know what will happen. The thing is, there's two possibilities. Number one, the president gets his coup. In which case, I can't predict for how long, what will happen, right? But the other one is that he actually gets deposed, right? If he gets deposed, then the other guys that will come in, they will demand that he resigns. They will probably demand that he goes into exile. This is probably what happens. Bolsonaro, he didn't actually try a coup, but he also went into exile. This is like a common pattern for leaders who try something like this and then they manage to survive, but they failed the revolution. So they go into exile, and then the purge will happen, right? So chances are, if they have new elections, it's almost guaranteed that the opposition will win. Like after every single failed coup, after every single failed military operation like this, the opposition will win. If the opposition wins, then they're going to do what Erdogan did in Turkey. And the crackdowns are going to be insane. The crackdowns aren't going to be just against politicians, but they're going to be against journalists, free thinkers, opinion influencers, people like me. And they will take what they can. They will clean the table, basically. If Taiwan and South Korea fall, our digital age will grind to a screeching halt. The problem is that, like South Korea is another country which manufactures chips. And just like Taiwan. So anything that happens there, like the Americans are interested in stability. Anything that happens there and rocks the boat is going to disturb economic supply chains. And especially when it comes to chip manufacturing, like right now when you have conflicts going all around the world and you have the AI and nations, unlike European Union, who is racing to be the first country in the world to... The EU is racing to be the first country in the world to regulate AI. The other nations are actually building the AIs. And there is an arms race to try and make like the most perfect AI, because right now like ChatGPT is dominating, and it's being integrated into search engines, it's being integrated into corporations, right? So like every other company wants this, and if anyone would make something better than ChatGPT, then they can get the contract. So like if the chips stop flowing, then you can't make the graphics card required to run the AI, and all these nations will lag behind during the AI industry. No one wants that. What if Holland has the chip manufacturing machines? Don't we keep them in Europe? To manufacture chips, it's actually like one of the most difficult manufacturing industries on the planet. And the reason for it is that the chips, they have to be manufactured in a certain way, and they're very small. From what I understand, you can't just build a factory. You have to build the machines that build the machines that build the smaller machines that build the smaller machines. So, like, the technology for it is very difficult. The reason that it's in Taiwan and South Korea is that they first built the factories there that were making, like, those classic chips, the big ones, that... hold on. Let me see if I can give you an example. So IBM processor, old footage. There is one where it shows people like that. I think like there's a picture in black and white that shows like two people carrying a processor for IBM because it was massive, right? So like those were the first ones. And then they started building them smaller and smaller, and then they started building machines to make them smaller. And then they built new machines to make smaller machines that build even smaller, and so on and so forth. So like it's a natural process. It doesn't mean that it can't be reproduced or it can't be made anywhere else. It just means that it's very, very difficult to like set these factories in Europe or in other places. And then it's also the question, it's like, all right, where do we set it? It's like, okay, you set it in Germany. Well, now you gave all the power to Germany, right? Because it's kind of like being in World War II and like one country makes the steam engines. And if that's the case, it's like, which country do you trust to make the steam engines? Because it's got to be a country that's not going to fuck you over. The reason that Taiwan is trusted is like, well, they're not going to fuck over the United States because they need the United States for China. Right? So it's also like it's also based on strategic importance. It's part of the entire human economic supply chain because it's not just computers that use chips, it's smartphones, it's TVs, it's cars, like everything uses everything uses a chip now. So, yeah. It's very time consuming, very difficult. You need the technological know-how to make them. You need trained machinists to build any factory. Blue collar industry is not just some derpus like white collar people think. Yeah. No, it's very difficult. I'm trying to explain people the limitations and why it's not just like a sawmill. And it's like, oh, we don't have enough sawmills. Let's build 4 or 5. V, you're getting this wrong. Steam engines heckin' suck compared to the almighty diesel engine. Oh my goodness. Why don't you make the machines in Holland? It's probably also contractual obligations, company secrets. It's like the whole corporate thing. The US will just do another Operation Paperclip since we've been building the chip fab factories for a number of years. We'll just import the workers. I'm pretty sure like nations have some backup plans, especially nations like the United States. But I want to remind people that during COVID, it was destabilized for like the logistics were destabilized for maybe 1 year or so, and the prices already exploded, and there were shortages. Like, you guys remember when you couldn't buy a PlayStation? And the NVIDIA graphics card came out and no one could buy it? Like, I remember. And that was like a very small logistical hiccup. Now imagine if it takes like 2 or 3 years. I mean, the prices will skyrocket for everything. And the problem isn't, it's like, oh, you can't buy new stuff. It's like, what happens when the stuff breaks? Most of the stuff is actually designed to break. That's another thing, you know. Back in my day, if you bought a tractor, I mean, you could have a tractor for like 20, 30 years. There's still tractors now that are from back in my day, and they work just fine. It's just the government constantly regulates against them and say, oh, they're polluting too much and shit. But like, the tractor would still work, even though it's old, right? Meanwhile, today, if you buy a tractor and it breaks, you gotta take it to a special shop that looks at the software and it does all that, right? And it's designed to break. Like, look at your smartphones. Like, most phones do not last for more than 3 or 4 years. The battery starts dying. The phone starts lagging. So, again, like, a disruption in the supply chain would be catastrophic because most of these things are designed so you buy new ones. Right? A new phone comes up, you buy a new one. Shit, it's been a minute. The current EUV machines will be the final generation. You simply can't go any smaller without getting quantum effects. They keep saying that for like 10 fucking years. And for some reason, they keep making them smaller. Like, I know the theory. I know the physics. But they keep making them smaller. And they always say it's like, oh, the current one is going to reach the limitation. Like, well, maybe they haven't. I don't know. Back in my day, you used to be able to purchase an iPad. True. You need an NVIDIA card to play the Succubus game. You know what? I actually did talk with my developer, and I was like, can we have RTX lighting? And he's like, why the fuck do you need RTX lighting? And I'm like, I don't know, but like, if we can have it in, why not have it in? And it's like, well, because then you have to support it, you moron. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you gotta patch it if it breaks. Like, what? Okay. Look at what NVIDIA does. Every generation, they increase the power limit. The quantum computers are ridiculous money sink to research, absolutely billions for not even prototypes. They are not smaller, they are stacking and pulling the tricks and calling it smaller. It's a marketing tactic. Yeah, I mean, I generally don't know. What I do know, however, is that I don't have to upgrade my PC anymore. See, this is something that a lot of people are annoyed that I don't do, but like I don't see the reason to do it. So I got my PC in 2018. And in 2018, I spent a lot of money. I got a high-end gaming PC at the time. A lot of people ask, like, V, why are you spending so much money on the PC? And I'm like, well, I don't want to buy another one next year. Like, I want to get the best PC that I can. So in 2018, I bought like the high-end gaming rig. I think I bought like the best on the market, without going into like the outrageous shit. But now it's 2024. It's almost 2025, and I still have the same PC. And a lot of people are like, "Why don't you get a new one?" And I'm like, "But why though? Why would I get a new one? Like, I can play every single game that's on the market. I can do everything. There's absolutely nothing that I would consider, oh, I want to do this if only I had a better PC. I have an RTX 380 Ti. Like, again, it was the standard at the time. But other than that, why would I upgrade it? Like seriously, if I get the new graphics card, what do I get for upgrading it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm not... There's no video game that I want to play that I can't play. There's no game on the market that I can't play, so... Unless you want to play Stalker 2 on max settings, I can play Stalker 2 on medium settings. I don't need to play it on max. Yeah, I think like if they were to make AI that you can run on your computer, like we're not at that level yet. I mean, there are some language models that you can, but like if it was to the point where you could run ChatGPT locally, and you'd like be able to remove all of the safety so that you can actually make it racist and shit, then yeah, I would definitely consider it. I would definitely be like, fine, I'll invest. But we're not there yet, so... Yeah, like 20 years ago, it was so fucking awesome. Like 20 years ago, if you didn't upgrade your computer once every 2 years, you would not be able to play the new games. Like they used to have video games coming out every year that would blow your mind. You'd be like, oh, have you seen the graphics of Alien vs. Predator 2? And it's like, no, dude, like unless you have a Voodoo 3 graphics card, you can't play that. Like, get the fuck out of here. It can't be that good. Like, oh, I got a Voodoo 2, and it's like, I'm trying to load it, and it takes like 20 minutes just to get into the game, and once you're in the game, and everything is slow, and it's like, oh, I need to upgrade with the Voodoo 3. And once you'd upgrade, you'd be mind blown. It's like, well, like, they will never make graphics better than this. And remember Crysis. Like, Crysis actually had such good graphics that even by today's standards, it's a nice game. Things calmed down after the first GPUs? Nah. It just went more overdrive. But yeah, so do I get this correct? You know, because this is something that I read about Korea and it blew my mind. So do I have any Koreans in the chat? I know that you guys ban pornography, and I heard that people who look at Japanese manga, like hentai, go to prison, right? So like if you're caught with a Japanese hentai magazine or you're watching it online, you go to prison. And if the characters are underage, if the characters are like 17 or look 17, you get put on a sex registry. And then when you get out, you can't find a job. And a lot of these people that are convicted are teenagers, like men between the age of 18 and 20. So I found this on the internet. It was on 4chan. But I was like, no fucking way. So I'm genuinely curious. Is that a thing? Like, does it happen often? Because, like, it's in Asia, right? Like, it's close to Japan. So there's going to be, like, some cultural contamination. Are they really that harsh? Like, do they... Like, I'm pretty sure people still watch it. Because even in China, like, I know people in China that install VPNs and they still watch it. I don't know in Saudi Arabia if people actually have the courage to watch it. Because, like, the punishment is usually corporeal in nature. No women watch porn in South Korea? See, that's the thing. Like, people say their games are gunner. There is a difference between various levels of pornography. What they ban is thing with penetration. What Americans now in 2024 considers porn is Victoria's Secret catalog. Okay? That's not porn. And like a woman that's in a risque outfit and is fully clothed. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not pornography, right? It is lewd. So like Nikkei, for instance, is lewd. But no one would consider that pornography. However, if it has penetration, then it's illegal in Korea. Well, 17 is underage, so yeah, of course. But I'm generally curious if like they enforce the laws like that, because shit, I mean, like, it's difficult to imagine, right? Like you just ruin a person's life. So you're telling me like a 19-year-old is caught watching some manga and then they arrest him and they put him on a registry and then they can't find a job, and it's like, wow, shit. The point is that a lot of people are doing it and they're not caught. In South Korea, you basically have to log into the internet with your social security number. If that's the case, right now, if the government is actually having martial law and is installing a coup, all that shit is going to be used against the people that suggested it. Because the people that suggested it were the opposition. So I hope Western governments learn something from it. Like, all the systems of control that especially, like, a lot of liberal nations are installing, like in the UK and shit. Like, they have facial security cameras everywhere, and they want to install the porn bill and stuff. All of that, at any point, can be used against you. Like, literally, at any point, if... Like not now, but, like, over 10 years, 20 years, you have, like, a different government in office. And there you go. We use a VPN in Saudi Arabia and watch pornography. The age of consent in South Korea is 16. Okay, well then if the character is 15. I think Sailor Moon fits. Yeah, like no, sexualized content isn't banned in South Korea. Like, it's not banned in China either. That's why Genshin Impact exists. But, like, actual penetration is. Even if it's cartoon, right? So, like, even drawings, anything. Doodles. Probably not doodles. But, yeah. I like how porn is illegal in Malaysia, but a parliament member got caught watching it. Oh, I mean... There were senators in the United States that were caught drinking during the prohibition. There were a lot of legislators from the Soviet Union that were being gay while being gay was illegal. I'm not kidding. They would arrest you and throw you into jail. Like the idea of lawmakers being hypocrites is not something new. I mean, even during COVID, you weren't supposed to leave your house, and a lot of politicians were caught doing that, going to parties and shit. So what you're saying is that South Korea has banned porn, yet it still has the lowest birth rate in developed countries. Yeah. If porn is banned, then who makes all the 18 plus manhwas that I read? I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Maybe it's okay if you make it for export. Like, if you're not selling it in the country, maybe it's okay. I've no idea. I'll actually have to look, because I just found out about it today because of the special military operation by the government, and I looked a little bit into their history. So I may be wrong. I don't know. Like, maybe a South Korean can actually tell me. Yeah, I mean, drugs are illegal in the United States, and there's cocaine in the White House, so there you go. You can draw porn, but only to sell it overseas. No looking at yourself. I don't know. Anyway. The thing with pornography right now is that in countries like UK, it's being used to try and introduce the same system like in Korea, right? Like, this is what most governments like. It's in China, it's in Korea. But the idea that when you log on the internet, you introduce your social security number, that type of shit, right? Okay. In the United Kingdom, like, how do you get people to do that? It's like, well, to protect the kids, right? So you gotta put your ID number. Now that thing normalizes the concept. It normalizes the concept that to go on the internet, you can put in your ID, just like the concept of your phone number being taken by your email service was normalized. Because back in the day, a lot of people resisted the idea. Like to associate your phone number to an account was something that a lot of people didn't want to do, because they treated the internet kind of like a ghetto, if you will, like a dangerous neighborhood, and you just don't want people to know who you are. You just like there's a lot of bad people on the internet, so you don't want them to know where you're at. You don't want them to know your house. You don't want them to know your name, your information, your private, right? So, like, privacy on the internet was a thing. This is actually how I grew up on the internet. And everyone was telling me, it's like, look, never give your name, never give away any information of yours, because there's bad people online. And they will take advantage of you. They'll try to scam you. They'll try to steal your money. You know, never meet someone from the internet. There were a lot of videos and TV shows and news articles promoting that. That was internet safety back in my day. Now, you have the illusion that the internet is safe, but and the big corporations are keeping us safe. Like, the big corporations are making sure that all of us are nice and safe on the internet. But the reality is that, no, the internet is just as dangerous as ever. And the only thing that the corporations do is to harvest your data. So that's why they want your phone number. And the thing is, like, imagine this, right? This is something that happened in the U.S. So, like, a couple of states, they decided that Pornhub should force people to give their social security numbers to log in order to protect the kids. And when Pornhub decided, no, we're going to stop doing business in your state if that's the case, immediately the critics were like, see, Pornhub wants to pervert children. Which is not the case, because imagine a situation where you have politicians, you have rich people, you have CEOs that watch pornography. And they log on to Pornhub with their social security number, and now they can be tracked, and you can see what they're watching. That is like prime blackmail material. That is like the golden goose of blackmail. So now you'll have like every single, probably even foreign governments like China and hacker groups, and everyone is going to try to break into Pornhub just to get access to the list of names and their browsing habits. Like imagine the scandal, the situation, right? I think like Pornhub would go bankrupt. They wouldn't be able to pay for that. So that's why they're not okay with it. But I think like if any government in the West is going to try to convince people to show their identification online, that's how they will do it. It will be like, it's for the safety of the children. You need to log in and give your ID. Right now, I think they're trying to do it for social media, right? So like, we're going to keep kids off social media. So in order to keep kids off social media, if you're an adult, you gotta show ID. And the thing that really bothers me, it's like, okay, why do I, as an adult, have to suffer from this? Because I'm actually okay with keeping kids off social media. In fact, my kid is not going to touch social media until he's around the age of 14, 16, and even then with parental supervision. So I'm fine with the concept, but why do I, as an adult, have to show ID to use the product? And they will say, well, actually, it's the same like going into a bar. And no, it's not. Because when you go into a bar, you show the ID. They're not writing it down. They're not taking your picture. They're not storing that information. If I use it online, I have no guarantee that my ID is not going to be stored, that they're not going to put it into a database. They're not going to sell it to a third party. And even if they don't, I have no guarantee that someone is not going to hack into Facebook or to hack into PlayStation and then have that information and use it against me. I mean, if you have someone's ID, there's a lot of damage you can do with that information if you have someone's social security number. Yeah, Australia is doing that. Like, literally, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to protect the kids by fucking the adults. It's almost like porn has nothing to do with birth rates, unlike what Christian conservatives would have you believe. No, like the idea. No, see, this is what boggles my mind. The idea that someone is sitting at home and watches pornography, and a hot woman just like knocks at his door, and he's like, "No, I need to watch my porn." It's mind baffling. Like, this is how I see it, right? Human relationships become more simplified if you try to compare them with looking for a job. You got the employer, which is the woman, and the employee, which is the man, right? So you have all these men, and they're going around trying to find a job. And they get to a job, and they get rejected, and they go to another job, and they get rejected, and they go to another job, and they get rejected. They don't have experience, they're too young, no one wants to hire them. And it causes depression. I mean, they tried, like they want the job, but like no one is hiring them. So now they're going home, and they're doing the saddest thing imaginable. They're LARPing as if they have a job. They're logging in, and they're watching these TV shows with people that are employed, and they're role-playing with each other as if one is the boss and another is the employee. Sad as fuck, right? But what does society say? No, the reason employment is low is because the men are LARPing as they have a job. No. The onus is on the employer, because they have ridiculous standards. And they are ridiculous, because if you look at the dating apps, and you notice that the top percent, like you notice at how men date women, and it's equal. Like there is like most men, the way they date women is like they realize how much they're worth. Like most men will be like, oh, I'm around the 6. And they don't usually punch up. They're intimidated to punch up. It's like, well, this woman looks like a 9. This is out of my league. Right? So they will date a 6. Meanwhile, with women, it's not like that. Meanwhile, you have women that are a 6. They go for the chat that's a 9 out of 10. Like all the women, they go for like the top 5% men. I don't know the solution for this, chat. I don't know the solution, but I'm noticing the reality, and it's not because men are sitting at home watching porn. I think the problem is a lot more complex, more multifaceted. Alex Jones said porn bans are just as bad yesterday because they're the Trojan horse for the internet. Mark of the Beast. Yeah, I agree with Alex Jones. Wasn't Alex Jones actually caught watching transgender pornography on his phone? I remember that. The point of some laws is to selectively prosecute people for things that are legal. YouTube censoring my Beria code. You know that one. God, I hate YouTube censorship. Porn shouldn't be free. That's really the problem. I mean, when I grew up, see, like, a lot of people probably think that it was always online. When I grew up, it was like the magazines, right? Like the Playboys and shit. And while they costed money, they weren't that expensive. Like, literally anyone could afford it. And you could go into a VHS store and you would pay money to see a VHS cassette. And then you would have internet cable. And even like on the normal daily cable, like after 12 midnight, they were like these shows in Romania, you had like the green circle. It symbolizes something that everyone can watch, like cartoons and shit. Then you had like the orange triangle, which was like for teens. So stuff like Terminator, RoboCop, stuff with violence. And then you had like a red square, which was like porn. And it had like different classifications. It had to be played after midnight when the kids are asleep. And it was free. Now, assuming that it cost money, sure. But it was so cheap. Like buying a Playboy magazine wasn't that expensive. And there were like so many magazines, like you can't imagine. The reason you don't have that many magazines now and you don't have like VHS tapes is because, well, VHS doesn't exist anymore. But it's because of the internet. Like they destroyed the paper magazines, right? But if somehow like the internet was restricted again, the rise of magazines would explode. And they were like $1, 50 cents. Like they were cheap, you know? Like obviously you had ones that were more expensive, like the Playboy is the most expensive. They were so fucking cheap, they may as well have been free. And before that, because I asked my parents, and I asked my grandparents as well, there were brothels, like actual brothels, especially in Europe. During the interbellum period, like you'd actually go out, there was a place where you had ladies. And in most places, it was legal. The communists banned them. The communists are the ones, like, they wanted to encourage a rise in birth rate. But again, like most people don't know human history. The thing is, like, here's the hilarious part. They actually did have good articles. The idea that, oh, I'm reading Playboy for the articles, that wasn't a lie. It wasn't a cope. Like, they actually had good articles. There was a lot of celebrity gossip, and there was a lot of interesting trivia. It's like, how do you make a movie? This is how you set it up, blah, blah, blah. And it was, like, genuine knowledge. And I think, like, that's why the magazine was so popular, because it would attract people with the lewd images, but, like, once you start reading the articles, you actually got knowledge, like how to repair a car. You know, how the first engine was invented. Like, it was actual reason to genuinely read the magazine, not just to watch the pictures. Well, no, good as in entertaining, right? Like, I'm not saying good as in enriching. It wasn't like making you a smarter person for reading it, but it was entertaining. Like, it genuinely made you feel that, okay, well, I paid this money and I'm getting my money worth from having this magazine. And you also need to take into account, you know, people didn't have YouTube back in the day. So, yeah, like, gossip is interesting. Like, look at the YouTube channels. Some of the biggest channels are gossip channels. They have millions of viewers, like Drama Alert and shit, right? Like, they got, like, millions of people that are subscribing because gossip sells. I mean, we may pretend, oh, we don't like gossip, we don't like celebrity gossip. No, like, look, during the Johnny Depp trial, tens of millions of people were into it. So, back then, people didn't have YouTube. They didn't, like, there wasn't that much gossip on TV, so, like, people bought magazines. Especially women, it was very popular with them. That's exactly what I want, some barrier to entry. I don't know if it's possible with today's technology, to be honest. The best barrier to entry is patenting. That's it. But other than that, people will just, like, pay money. And it's not going to be expensive. because so many people buy it that it becomes cheap. Prostitutes are legal independent contractors? That's hilarious. Yeah, came for the pics, stay for the articles, just like Nikkei. um, Only women read gossip magazines? Oh, shut the fuck up. That's not true. I would believe it if I didn't see so many men subscribe to gossip channels. Like, let me put it this way, right? If I make a video and I do research on a subject and it's well edited and shit, maybe I'll get like 20,000 views. If I make a video when I talk about the drama between me and Dev, I will get like 40,000 views. And I'll get a lot of people bitching, oh my god, you're talking about drama. But at the end of the day, I have the analytics, okay? Unlike the Democrats, I know what gender you are. So, I don't want to hear the idea that only women like gossip. Anyway, thank you for gathering. Thank you for watching. I hope it was an interesting stream. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.